Good morning, Phoenix here. Good morning. Can you hear me? I wasn't muted. I was waiting for something to load, and I am so glad to see you guys here Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. And good to see you in the house, Claire. Hey, Renee. I'm still going on at 3. Yep, I am live. Hey, Dina. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hey, Bunny. Okay, so let's rock and roll. So yeah, yay, you can hear me now. Something was loading and I didn't see the button go. So, you know, I I just have to say I am in utter shock. What is wrong with people sending these crime scene photos of the Idaho 4 out to people via email? What is their purpose? Guys, these crime scene photos are fake. I am not shocked at this behavior, but I'm more shocked that somebody took the time to create some fake crime scene photos in the Idaho 4. And what is the problem? They harm people. They harm the victims, they harm the victim's family, and it puts distrust into the public. Why? These images aren't even sourced from law enforcement, guys. They're not even official investigation photos. They're not verified leaks. They're digitally altered. Like I said, I ran them through AI. I could see. I've seen dead bodies. I've seen crime scene photos. I've seen a dead body not once, not twice, not 3 times in front of my very own eyes. And these pictures are fake. They are fake. And remember, the first time, if you guys haven't heard this backstory before, the first time I ever saw a dead body was when I was about 12 years old. I went to a drive-in movie theater with a friend that lived 2 houses down in her parents' old station wagon in the 80s. And he let us climb on top of the station wagon with our sleeping bags and our blankets and pillows, and we were watching The Children of the Corn. And in the car next to us on my side was a group of 5 people in a car, 2 in the front, 3 in the back. And what happened is they stabbed an individual on my side. And instead of watching the movie, I was trying to figure out what the commotion was next to us in the vehicle. And then all of a sudden, they dump him outside on the ground. And I tell my friend's dad, hey, something happened next to us. And she jumps down, runs over to the concession stand, and all of a sudden, the cops come in, roll in, turn the movie off, turn all the lights on in the drive-in movie theater, and they haul this guy off. Okay. Now, remember, I have worked in a clinical setting before, and we had a morgue, and there were tons of dead bodies. No big deal, right? If you're in the nursing field, you're going to either be in clinicals or rotations or something. There's going to have to be something or sometime that you're going to have to go to the morgue. Okay. I think they give tours nowadays. Anyways, and most hospitals don't have morgues. They have a room, but not like a full blown morgue. Now, and the last time I saw a dead body next to me is a guy had a heart attack, was leaving his car, and he was on the ground. I pull up, didn't see him. I pull up, I get out of the car to go to the other side and unbuckle my daughter in the car seat. And lo and behold, there's a man laying on the ground, already blue. And he was gone. He had a heart attack in the parking lot. So, I've seen some of the most gruesome crime scenes that you could possibly see. And these pictures are indeed factually fake. And it breaks my heart because not only in the recent couple of days since this guilty plea was taken by Brian Koberger, just in a few days, these images have been circulating through email, people talking about them, and they're claiming to show the crime scene. And honestly, it's disgusting because these pictures are theatrical pictures. They look like from a movie. And these pictures of these people in these pictures are in clothes from the 90s, the 80s, guys. It's disgusting. And they're claiming that these photos are the crime scene photos from Idaho 4. And everyone's asking me, do you know someone in Moscow, Idaho? Do you know where this white chair is? Do you know where this bench is outside? No, because it came from some movie, you guys. You take the photos, you put it in AI. AI will tell you exactly and break down the photos and the probability, the theatrical, where it was probably filmed and located, and what movie it came from. So stop believing all the lies, the fake pictures. So misleading, so harmful, disrespectful, and deeply unethical is what I wrote down. So we're just here to talk about why people create fake crime scene photos. The psychology behind it and the motivations are damaging, not only, like I said, to the families, the victims, but us, the public. It causes discord and the pursuit of truth. Why even make them? Why? Why do they do this? So why would somebody send me fake pictures of a crime scene? There's got to be a few reasons, and none of them are innocent. Shock value. Did they want to shock me? Because I've already seen plenty of dead people, guys. Didn't shock me. I know some people want attention, posting shocking images and clicks and whatever, but it's a form of digital provocation. It spreads conspiracies. Those fake images are used to push conspiracy theories, guys. It's false visual narrative. They want to desensitize people, dehumanize these victims. When fake gore is shared like this, it numbs people to real suffering. The Idaho 4 victims were real people. They weren't props. And then it's the trolling and the hate culture, most likely. There's some dark corner of the internet, guys, out there that thrives on cruelty. Some people will send these types of things to people that they know are truth and light and believers, just so they can get some type of thrill. It's gross. And it starts causing pain and chaos for other people. So what can we do about it? These are not victimless acts. The families of Kaylee and Matta and Xana and Ethan. I don't know if you just saw the Idaho 4 about the college students. I could see his face, Hunter Chapin's dad. I could see his face in the heartache that he suffers daily. It broke my heart. So do survivors. The survivors are the ones that are also suffering. It misleads people and it hurts everyone involved. So stop sharing these fake pictures of the Idaho 4 unalived, murdered victims. Stop. You guys don't want to get me going on the next one, because by spreading these images, you're disrespecting the dead and misleading the public, like I said. You're hindering real investigative efforts. I'm sure some of you saw the FBI asked online sleuthers to stop trying to solve crimes, and this is one of the reasons. You get people out here that are doing things like this, like the Papa Rogers. You're getting people going out there trying to it's just disgusting. Stop sharing these photos. If anything you hear out of this stream is stop sharing these disgusting photos. They're not truthful. They're fake. So what can you do? Report it. Speak up. Verify any source before believing what you see. And I talked about this yesterday. Stop spreading the fake crap. Respect the victims and seek the truth. Let's get into it, because I'm going to show you what other cases that have done this. You guys might not like it, but I'm going to share it. I know how you were like talking yesterday about this. You guys were like, oh, that Kaylee Anthony. But let me show you. This is factual information. You can go search the court records. You can look through the documents. It's not unlike me to pay $4,500 for transcripts and documents. But these fake photos hinder trials. And that is probably why no trial was had in this case. Casey Anthony trial. Remember the fake body in the trunk photos? Do you guys remember that one? Yeah, I do. It circulated really early in the case, and it showed forensic proof that Kaylee's body had been in the trunk. Sadly enough, nobody realized that that was a fake photo at the time. Do you guys remember that one? I do. They were shared online as it was confirmed guilt. In court, the evidence was disputed and the photos were misrepresented. The public was misled, and the defense used it to show media bias. I remember that 100%. And it complicated jury impartial, like when a jury becomes impartial. It hindered them. Oh, and I know you guys will probably remember this one. I mean, you can type a 1 if you remember this, right? Look at this. Remember Kyle Rittenhouse? Somebody mentioned to me yesterday, and I thought, you know what? They misled the public sharing a picture that made headlines. Look at that one. Remember that? They edited, they cut it out to fit the narrative, they manipulated them. They did edit out of context photos. They showed him in threatening positions before the incident. Photos were manipulated, wrongly labeled, and labeled as premeditated evidence. This created a difficult position to be in to make the jury selection harder. And it triggered a mistrial due to prejudicial pretrial exposure. And you guys mentioned it yesterday. Y'all are astute, man. 100%. What about this one? The Boston Marathon trial. The fake bombing suspect photos. Reddit and Twitter used falsely identified individuals in crowd photos. I remember this, including the missing man. What was his name? Sunil or something like that. Fake images circulated all over, and law enforcement confirmed it. That guy, the Sunil guy, family was harassed, emails, letters, calls, and law enforcement had to divert resources to make sure that this guy was protected. I remember that. That became a textbook case of dangers online and speculation. And I will say, I have got some emails, truthfully, just this morning, of people being harassed that actually are in contact with Brian Kohberger. People actually being harassed, and they knew something was up when he took this plea deal. I'm not going to name names. I'm just saying that people have emailed me and given me sources saying that they have been harassed, threatened, period. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about this case yesterday. Think about this. Amanda Knox. There were fake crime scene photos floating around. They were released online, misrepresented, especially by the tabloids. Some were altered, mislabeled, or improperly context. They created international outrage. I remember this. It was bad because it was so tainted, and it tainted the trial with bias. Who remembers that case? What was specifically one point that you remembered this case that you thought, something isn't right? This girl goes overseas to college, and then yet she is arrested as a suspect in her roommate's unalivings. I mean, isn't that basically what some people have done to Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk to an extent? I mean, yeah, they're suspicious. Their behaviors are very suspicious. But they've not been named suspects, guys. But in Amanda Knox case, everybody had them guilty, had her guilty, even before, with all these fake articles and altered media bias. It was horrible. And last but not least, I just have to say, there's one last photo, and I'm sure you would agree. This case hit the top of my list. Obviously, I saved the best for last. And, I mean, I could ask you guys right now, how many of you have seen so much bias with the recent case in the Idaho 4? Type a 1 if you've noticed and you've witnessed it. Let's see how many of you have witnessed bias in this case with Brian Koberger. I just want to see how many ones, how many hands are raised. Yep, 100%. It's disgusting. This is how in the trial of the media, no one is able to get a fair trial. Look at all of those ones. I mean, that is sad. What if you were charged and you were arrested for something you did not do, and now you're trying to undo what's been done? How in the world would you ever recover from something like that? The case I was talking about is this one right here. I know some of you won't agree, but this is factual. John Bonet's doctored ransom note and scene images. Portions of the ransom note and scene images were altered in the tabloids and circulated as new evidence. Right in the study report that was done by a third-party law firm. If you had not looked at that study, you missed out on a lot of good information, because there was a third-party law study done. That means is when the judge says, look, I need other attorneys to look at all the evidence and put it in a study. And basically what they do is they go and they determined how accurate some of this was. Portions of the ransom note obviously was circulated as new evidence. They were not always accurate, and they were used to push various theories, distracted the investigators, fed conspiracy narratives, and they delayed the process by shifting focus. Now, do we know for a fact who unalived John Bonet? No, we don't. To this day, it's still a mystery. They still talk about it. There are people in power that could divert any case if there's any wrongdoing in it. Yeah, the second time Rittenhouse did go to, yeah, he was found not guilty. Absolutely. After the fact doesn't help anything, but this is during the trial. Even before a trial began, in all of these cases, there was something that was not right, that was made fake. These tabloid magazines, especially, like the Daily Mail or the Beast, or, you know, I don't want to name names in some news stations, but they know who they are. They definitely know who they are. And some of those pictures were just, I mean, guys, if you're going to send fake pictures of crime scenes, make them look at least a little real, right? Just a tiny bit real. These pictures were done just crazy. And how could they get the crime scene photos? How did they even know how to make these photos what if it doesn't match the autopsies when they come out? If they come out. Wild. Yeah, after the fact doesn't even help any of these cases. And it's just terrible and it's sad. But yet it happens. It happens because everyone's trying to make some notoriety statement or get more likes or streams or follows. And, you know, Patty says, I didn't really get into true crime until the Idaho 4 case. Well, Patty, what interested you in the Idaho 4 case is my question. What really interested you to learn more about the case? I'll ask that to all of you. What got you interested about this case? Was it fear? Was it that, these college kids, innocent while sleeping in their beds, were unalived, were murdered? I mean, what was it really? And they were already guilty by the media. There was basically a trial by media. Things didn't add up and you wanted the truth. To be honest, fear. I wanted to know how BK was connected and found them. Well, I would love to know too, because as you heard Bill Thompson, I can bring up that video. As you heard Bill Thompson speak, he basically said there was no connection, didn't know him, was not stalking. And I want to say, what was the last one? Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Bill Thompson. Hold on a minute. Let me bring this up because Bill Thompson. Hold on. Let me bring it up for you guys because I want you to be able to see this. This is something that's really bothered me, by the way. What Bill Thompson said specifically in the court when Brian Koberger took his plea. This is the prosecution outlines the timeline. It's basically the PCA on steroids. There is something new we learned in this, though, that I want to talk about, which is really super important, guys. Let's watch this and then I'll talk about it so we can all listen to it together. Let me get all this off here so you can see this bigger. All right, you ready? Let's listen to this.
That the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area of where the defendant's car was parked. And with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kayla Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor. It was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed-blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation.
That was Bill. He said very clearly, no sexual assault or sexual assault of any kind, no component. And he didn't want that speculation. Now, there was another hearing that Bill clearly said there was no stalking either. He actually got into it like a little viper with the guy on the stand, and he said, no, I'm going to make this very clear. There was no connection of stalking. Do I need to go find that one? Because I want you guys to understand the truth happens. Well, that's an oxymoron. I was just about to say. The truth happens in the court, not always. But he made it very clear in Brian Koberger's case, there was no stalking. Did everybody remember that one? Bill Thompson. Let me see if I can find it. No stalking in court hearing. Let me see if somebody put that one out there, because it wasn't me. Let me see. No stalking. I clearly remember him say that. I sure hope nobody has scrubbed that, because it was made very clear there was no stalking. And I think I even have it in my history. Hold on, let me see. Idaho 4, here we go. Shoot, I don't know where it went, but I will find it and I will put it back up under shorts. But yeah, he made it very clear that there was no stalking. There was no stalking. And it was Judge. You're absolutely right, Mary Holt. Thank you for that reminder. And I'll go back and I'll find that. But let's finish watching this, because there's something very interesting that Bill Thompson does say that I caught it the second time around. Listen to what Bill says.
There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of...
Clear to say that AKA Dylan awoke
with black belt cob on, holding some sort of container in his hand.
And I was curious about the container. This was the first we heard about a container. And some speculated it was a, what do I want to call it? Like a vacuum, right? The end of a vacuum canister, or what are those called? A wand or whatever, like a, gosh, the word I'm trying to think of? A canister. But here he calls it a container. Some type of container. And I'm going to share something with you real quick that I thought about. I was in the military and I was overseas. And something caught my ear when I heard Bill Thompson say a container. And this is exactly what came to my mind. All over Japan, let me see if I can share this. All over Japan, people carry swords. They have swords on display, swords on for sale. And I thought, that's interesting. A container. Look at that kind of sword container. I thought, what if it was a container like for a sword? They said it was a knife object. Blunt. Do we know? I mean, we don't know for sure. But when he said container, it kind of brought me back to a box, a container box that could possibly be for a sword. Because when I thought about this, if he had the container upstairs, took the sheath, the knife out of the sheath, out of this container box, he grabbed the container, allegedly, and left the sheath because he knew he had the container to put the knife in, just like anybody else would, without a sheath. Is that what he meant possibly by a container. So, of course, this is really big in the military if you don't know. And I thought, let me look into this container thing, right? Just out of curiosity. What kind of container would have a sword? And this is what popped up. This is what came to mind. This type of container. And if he had it in his hand, is it possible that maybe he was some type of ninja? Martial arts, maybe? Described it as a vacuum cleaner. How could she see so closely? How could she see so closely if it was a vacuum cleaner? The container held the sheath for staging. I think shoebox, similar to the berry evidence. Cooks carry their knives in a container. They sure absolutely do, Daniel. Especially nice, expensive ones. So that was just a thought process when I saw Bill say that. So, with that being said, let's watch the rest of what Bill had to say because I am interested to see if you guys catch anything else that Bill says. Hold on. Our browsing history are all a little sus from this case. Yeah, I would say so too. All right, let's listen to what Bill says.
Through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom were to see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walenta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with activity tracks heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Koberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport, large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th, 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Koberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman.
What a coincidence, huh? Let me just read you. Someone sent this to me. Take it with a grain of salt. I know it's tiny. I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. And I found it interesting, to say the least, because could this have been possibly what happened? Funny why he mentioned Lewiston. That was interesting, of all things. And why did he have to mention that it was a seaport? Not that he could have just thrown it in any river or allegedly this. And yes, they did say a single source male DNA. They did not specify his DNA, Koberger's DNA. This comment, although very tiny, came from a Facebook group, Brian Koberger Accused Mass Murderers. It's a group out there. You can go find it. I'm posting anonymously because Brian is my family, and you people in this group act like vultures and rabid raccoons. Brian is innocent, and you will see he has been framed by his drug partner friend, the security guard from the university. They were doing drugs together in the parking lot, as they had done numerous times. But when the security guard started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window, Brian left the security guard and drove back to his apartment. The reason the phone was off is because the battery was flat and security guard was using the car charger. Brian put his phone on charge when he left the parking lot, and he switched it back on when he was near his apartment because that's how long it took to get a charge going. Brian's knife was in the car, and the security guard was holding it because he had used it to chop up cocaine lines. Yes, I said cocaine, because Brian stopped heroin years back and substituted the drug with cocaine. He's tried so hard to stop everything, but he's an addict, and he has bad migraines, so the cocaine actually helped him. He has no idea the security guard was going to do that, and he just wanted to teach him a lesson by leaving him behind. Brian actually feels terrible that he left this maniac behind, but it's not his fault. You people need to stop with these singing videos and funny pictures of Brian and my dad, or we will sue you for everything you have. All of you just get a life and stop playing Facebook detectives, because you are a bunch of bored losers that have no morals. Okay, the reason I chuckled is because if you believe this comment, God help us all. This does not sound like someone who actually knows Brian Koberger. And the reason I say that is because they've put a lot of speculation in here. And then they say, my dad or we will sue you for everything you have. Just get a life and stop playing Facebook detectives. There's a lot of grammar issues with this post. There's a lot of, and this is my humble opinion, obviously, speculation. Why would somebody admit that he was using a certain kind of drug? Why was he even in the area? And why would he want to teach the security guard a lesson? And why would you do drugs and then drive? Okay, this just takes the cake, right? I mean, I can see a little bit of truth in here that maybe he was framed, maybe someone else did this, but all the rest of it, is just wild. Mentions nothing that could be useful. And I could go on and on about all the fake stuff that we have seen in this case, but I don't. So, at the end of the day, if you want to hear what the media is not telling you or other people are not telling you, you know that there are no FOIAs that have been answered for crime scene photos. You know that there is a gag order in this case with the Idaho 4. You know that these records have been sealed and redacted, and there's a lot of new stuff on the case summary today and in the repository that is sealed. And the hearing tomorrow is on Zoom, but it will not be streamed. So we'll not even know what happens till the outcome. But if you see a lot of chaos ensue and arise in the next few days, then you will know the gag order was lifted. If you see all these families starting to talk, all these families, friends, and possible witnesses talk, maybe we can get somewhat of the truth. Vigilante, I see your comment. People do cocaine and drive all the time. That's a little scary. The security guard was definitely sus when they threw the coat right back down the hill. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of sus in this, but you have to use a little tiny bit of common sense and think, would this be true? Are these pictures truthful? No, they're not. Stop sharing the fake crap. It's just disrespectful to everyone involved. And if you want to question if they're true or not, then you can send it to the police department and ask them. Now, something someone has asked me, I don't know, but I do have someone I can call in Ada County and ask them if the sentencing will be on Zoom. They have denied video reporters in there, but the Judge Hippler, just today has a order that is allowing for the still photographer to be in the courtroom on the 23rd. So if it is streamed, I will be streaming it. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all that have joined me for this special live today about the fake crime scene photos. I greatly appreciate all of you little nesters. And as always, like I always say, and if you haven't seen the video that I just put out on TikTok, please, what was that? I want to know about the photo on BK's roster Phoenix. Please follow up with that. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can go and watch the old stream with the Nothing's Adding Up, or you can watch the real short with Nothing Adding Up where I posted that picture. The picture in gettingout.com that you can talk and email and video chat on the tablet with Brian Koberger is not the Brian Koberger we see in court. That did not make sense. So if you have any questions, drop them. If you want to email me, it's in my bio. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. And be well.